Punch Out Wii. After making a ranking on the first two games, or technically three I suppose, I was beyond excited to do one on this game. There's 13 base opponents just like in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, except with no Mike Tyson. Instead, you play Title Defense mode, which has you fighting all 13 fighters with new tricks. The game is mostly Mike Tyson's Punch-Out inspired, but it does have some Super Punch-Out reps, as well as one new fighter and one secret fighter. So without further ado, let's step back into the ring and take on these even more racist fighters. But first... rules. I know, I hate this part too. So, I'll be including all three forms of Doc Lewis and Doc Lewis's Punch-Out. Some might not agree, but this is my list, so get over it. I'll be including all three fights, meaning warm-up, training, and sparring. That said, I won't be including Gigamac. Now, call me a hypocrite, but Gigamac is controlled by a second player, so I feel like it would be a bit unfair. With all these fights considered, we have a total of... oh god. Well, I'm not gonna get anywhere by just sitting here, so let's finally get into the list.
We're not waiting an hour and a half for impressions of France, okay? Eat a baguette and lose a world war. That's my impression of France. Let's go to Space Mountain.
Do I even need to say anything? I've yapped long enough about Glass Joe and his other two fights, so I'm not even gonna give him the respect he probably deserves, and make this quick. He has a jab and a hook, both of which are slow, a taunt which gives you an instant knockdown if you counter it, and an instant knockout if you counter it with a 3-star punch. He also gives plenty of opportunities for star punches and has long stun periods. Moving on.
Jetzt sag ich Fortnite und trink Cola! Yippee!
Von Kaiser is frustrating. His attacks are actually pretty fast for a second opponent, and he does decent damage. Yes, he gets instantly knocked down if you hit him with the star punch while he's stunned, but getting stars off his jabs is actually pretty different from Mike Tyson's, and his uppercut has a pretty tight counter window. So why is he number 29? The taunt. Why this taunt even exists is beyond me, but a 3-star punch into his taunt is an instant knockout, and that drags this guy down far. If it weren't for the stupid taunt, he would definitely be higher, but as is, he's much more pathetic to his NES variant. He's a has-been, I guess. Disco Kid. What do I say about Disco Kid? He has a jab, a hook, and 2 taunts. Plenty of other fighters give you a lot of stars, but it's incredibly noticeable with this guy in particular. You're just drowning in stars. Yes, his hook is one-directional, but that doesn't matter much when he only uses it from one side. The only thing he has in his favor is he's pretty unorthodox, but the main reason he's not dead last is because he's going up against 2 of the easiest fighters in the entire fucking franchise.
Now this is a very long chocolate bar. This won't be the first time I put something long and brown in my mouth.
Alright, for our last F-tier fighter we have Doc Lewis's warm-up mode. Now, his attacks are actually pretty strong and stars are a bit harder to get. He's also a King Hippo style bout where one knockdown is a win. The main problem here is he telegraphs his attacks by literally telling you what to do. I understand why though. This is supposed to be a tutorial fight after all. That's honestly the only problem with this fight, because other than that, this fight ain't that bad.
I'm literally gonna start a podcast, and every single episode is me talking about how hippos are better than elephants. Bro is defending his people.
Moving up into D tier, King Hippo is a surprising jump in difficulty. He has the same gimmick of only being able to stun him when he opens his mouth, but there's a problem with that. He opens his mouth after every attack, pretty much nullifying the gimmick. That said, he has one trick to balance it out. He has a new attack called the Hippo Hug. Said Hippo Hug has him back up, raise his arms, then slam you with an ear clap. That said, this attack is a double-edged sword. It does do a lot of damage, but there's also a lot of different ways you can deal with this attack. You can just dodge and punish, but that's boring. His mouth is open after all, so you can punch him in the face and wail on him. That said, his face isn't the only place he leaves open. You can also punch him in the stomach to completely disintegrate his entire health bar. Well, shit. Don't worry, you can just counter the Hippo Hug again, and he gets instantly knocked out. Though, if you want to streamline the process, you can duck the ear clap and star punch him to get an instant knockout. You can also get stars by blocking his jabs and punching him in the gut. The big problem with this fight that makes him easier than the NES fight is how little damage he does compared to his NES incarnation. While his NES incarnation could just delete half your health bar with one overhead, this version can't even do half of that. Even his ear clap just does around 40 damage. The other two minor circuit champions in the series can delete your whole health bar with their special attacks, meanwhile this guy is using his special attack and praying you don't take advantage of it. Hopefully the major circuit is an improvement. Speaking of... Alright, here comes the first hot take. I've heard a lot of people say Piston is easier than Hippo, which for the life of me I can't agree with. Piston is definitely easier than his NES incarnation, and that's mainly because he telegraphs his attacks a lot more before throwing them. While he's a bit more reserved with star opportunities, he balances it out by having 2 instant knockout tricks, much like Hippo. Counter his Hondo Rush with a 3-star punch, and counter his Bow Taunt with a 3-star punch. The main reason he's higher than King Hippo is because he doesn't give as much stun and as much stars, compared to King Hippo giving you 10 punches on average and a star after every single jab if you know how to get them. Piston won't even give you that much stun even when you deal with his Hondo Rush. Oh, speaking of which, his Hondo Rush has been severely nerfed, going from a barrage of punches that only stops when you block 4 of them, to a 3-punch combo ending off with a hook. Wow. Also, his counter window has been increased for whatever reason. Also, to end this entry off, I would like to clear up a misconception. Everyone says you shouldn't counter Hondo's taunt because he's respecting you, but I'm here to tell you that that's total bullshit. You see, in Japanese culture, while bowing is considered a sign of respect, that's only if you don't maintain eye contact. And since maintaining eye contact is disrespectful and Hondo does maintain eye contact, his bows are meant to be disrespectful. Remember that next time someone tries to make you feel bad for giving Hondo a sucker punch when he bows. Wait, what was I talking about? Oh, right, mid-fight.
I grew up in Dublin. I was a potato farmer. Every night I would go to the pub. I would drink ale and dance jigs.
Jumping all the way to the world circuit, Aaron Ryan may seem difficult at first. He's fast, agile, and doesn't give you any opportunities to stun him. But as soon as Doc tells you to beat Aaron Ryan to the punch, everything falls apart. His counter windows are beyond generous, and if you counter his uppercut, he gives you a star. He also has a taunt where he literally asks you to hit him. He also has a headbutt, which may seem deadly at first, but it doesn't do much damage, like at all, and you can block it. That said, it has a unique property of forcing you to time your block, because if you block too early, it won't work. That said, if you can successfully block it, you can punch him to get a star, or hit him with a 3-star punch while he recovers to get an instant knockout. Also, for apparently having loaded horseshoes in his gloves, his punches are not that strong. He's also way too committed to relying on the lucky number. All his stun windows give you 7 punches, he always gets up on 7, and you can get an instant knockdown if you hit him with 7 star punches. How he even managed to get to the world circuit with an 18-10 record, literally worse than King Hippo, is beyond me, but hey, free win. Bear Hugger is honestly pretty similar to King Hippo in quite a few regards. He's a big boy who won't let you punch him in the gut unless he's stunned. He has an overhead, an ear clap, and traded out his jab for a hook. He also has a decent amount of HP and will get back up. He does taunt a lot, giving you plenty of opportunities for star punches, but said star punches won't do much if you use them individually unless you use one of the 5 instant knockdown tricks he has. Now, that might sound ridiculous, but all of them just boil down to counter his attacks or taunts with a star punch. And doing that isn't easy, because his attacks have pretty tight counter windows, and they do a good amount of damage, especially his Bear Hug. The Bear Hug does a whopping 50 damage, and he's not too reserved with using it, which makes it pretty difficult. That said, the reason he's in D tier is because his attacks are just too simple. Yes, the hook is one-directional, but much like with Disco, that doesn't mean shit when he only uses it from one side. And yes, the Bear Hug is strong, but it has an incredibly long startup, so unless you're trying to counter it, you shouldn't have any trouble with it.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Title Defense Mode has built up a reputation for being a collection of some of the hardest fights in the series, improving even the most pathetic fighters to be genuine threats. So, what happened? Seriously, what happened? Surrounded by 3 other massively improved fighters, Disco sticks out, and not in a good way. He's now taken up Jazzercise and has brought it into the ring. First off, missed opportunity to have him do dance fighting. Second off, despite apparently having a newfound rhythm, the only noticeable change is him constantly doing ASMR in the middle of the fight. I don't know what's worse, the way it feels like he's trying to seduce me, or the fact that it's working. All jokes aside, he has 2 new attacks. A hook from the left telegraphed by him doing jumping jacks, and he can also do multiple jumping jacks, meaning multiple hooks, and of course his fabled special attack. Von Kaiser had the devastating Blitzkrieg uppercut, and Disco Kid has the Disco Flurry? Oh man, that sounds really intimidating. I wonder what that is. You're a bitch. Ow. So you're telling me his special attack is 3 jabs. Something I've been dealing with since Piston Hondo. And what's even worse is if you hit him with a 3-star punch while he's winding this up, he goes down instantly. And need I remind you, this is the one new fighter we got in this game, and that you had nearly 15 years to make this game, and all you could come up with was a guy who likes disco? You could have added another Super Punch-Out rep like Masked Muscle, Piston Hurricane, Bob Charlie, Dragon Chan, Mad Clown, Hoy Corlo, or one of the Bruiser Brothers. Hell, you had plenty of other countries to make a character from. Need I remind you that we don't have a rep from Australia? But no, instead we get a guy who's into disco. That stereotype was dead before the first game in the series came out. Okay, sorry, I'm calm now. This guy pisses me off beyond belief. This fight is easy, and is easily the easiest and worst fight in title defense. Moving the fuck on.
お前はもう死んでいる。何?
Starting off C tier, Great Tiger is a vast improvement from his NES variant, though much like that version, his attacks are decently basic. He has a jab, an uppercut, and a delayed uppercut. That said, Next Level Games made some major improvements to his attacks. His blinking jewel can now blink red, and if you try to hit him when it's blinking red, he'll teleport and counter. His uppercuts don't give you stars, which is by far the biggest improvement. Also, instead of a Honda Rush with the special effect turned up to 11, his special attack now has him making a clone of himself, sliding from left to right, and trying to attack you with a powerful uppercut. That said, you can counter this attack to get an instant knockdown, but you'll at least need to keep an eye out for who's going to attack first, because the clone is just there to throw you off. Honestly, that's the biggest problem with Great Tiger. If you couldn't counter his Magic Rush, or even if it had a tighter counter window, he would be quite a bit harder, maybe even B tier. That said, he's still a major glow-up from his NES variant. Oh, speaking of glow-ups...
Oh no, he's hot!
Explain to me how we went from this to this. Okay, before we get into the fight, let's talk about the design. How are these two the same person? One is a pathetic little wimp who looks like he got shoved in lockers as a kid, and the other one looks like someone who you need to get your girl away from at all costs because he will steal her. Hell, he could steal me if he wanted to. Anyways, onto the fight. He goes from having one attack to having one of the most varied arsenals of any fighter in the game. He has a fast uppercut, a delayed uppercut, a hook from the right, his classic flamenco uppercut whenever you run out of stamina, and later on in the fight, he has a jab he'll telegraph by clapping. That said, you can get stars off of all his attacks. You can parry his fast and slow uppercuts as well as his hook, and you can block his jab. Blocking a jab gets you a star? What's next? Am I gonna get a bonus for using a hammer to hit a nail? He also has an infinite if you time your punches while he's recovering from being knocked out of stun, and alternate what kind of punches you use. Hook, jab, jab. That said, don't get too cocky, otherwise... Oh no. Oh no. Don Flamenco without his toupee on is a monster. His attacks are stronger and faster, and he won't force you to provoke him before attacking. He also gives no stun and takes less damage. He only gets out of his rage state when either you or him get knocked down. The last thing he has is a triple hook, which will give you a star if you dodge all the hooks. That said, he only throws hooks from one side, and he'll only ever use them from the left. But that luxury won't last. Don Flamenco is a cocky bastard. But what would his fight be like if he got humbled? Well, we'll see in his title defense fight.
I remember when they first invented chocolate. Sweet, sweet chocolate. I always hated it.
Moving up into B tier, Doc Lewis's training mode is a surprising difficulty spike for Morma, or maybe I'm just bad. He has a fast uppercut that he'll now use alongside his normal uppercut, and he has a fast jab which is essentially a block check. He does more damage and gives less stun. That's about all the changes. Oh, yeah, and when he's low on HP, he'll eat a chocolate bar and go into his second phase. His second phase is a lot harder, having him throw more attacks and harder patterns. Overall, quite a jump in difficulty, but trust me, it gets a lot worse.
Helmet, 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 helmet! Helmet, 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 helmet!
Maybe this is a hot take, but Title Defense Glass Joe has always been a challenge for me. His timings are designed to work in tandem with each other just to screw you up. He has a fast jab, a fast hook, and a delayed hook. The delayed hook is timed just right to make you dodge early so that he can smack you when you get back to your neutral stance. He also has a side-switching jab, but you can just block that, so it's not really a problem. He also has his headgear, which is the main gimmick. It prevents you from punching him in the face unless you hit him with a star punch, which leads into the main problem with this fight. He has an infinite. When you star punch his headgear off, it'll turn yellow to signal when it's about to go back down. However, if you hit him in the gut when the headgear turns yellow, you get a star, which you can hit him with while he's recovering, which makes his headgear fly off his head, and you can just repeat this process over and over. That said, if you whiff the star punch at any point, he'll dodge and punish. And while his punishment doesn't do too much damage, that damage will add up over time, and fast.
Come on, fight!
Title Defense Von Kaiser is a major step up from regular Von Kaiser. His uppercuts are now one-directional, which may not sound like a big deal, but he can now use them from both sides. He also has a fast jab with no counter window, but that's not all the new stuff he has, since when he gets up from a knockdown... This attack is an instant knockdown, and is one-directional. That said, it's not as hard to dodge as it looks. If it was, this guy would be much higher. That said, this guy has one other problem. He gives out a lot of stars. This game isn't shy on giving you stars, but in this fight in particular, you're just drowning in them. There's so many stars. And while the instant knockout is gone, the instant knockdown still exists. You just need to have 3 stars rather than 1.
Welcome, Whoopmaster Adam.
Title Defense Aaron is expanded upon brilliantly. He'll now counter your counters with either a headbutt, an elbow, or a delayed elbow. Aside from that, he really doesn't have any differences.
That is both Andy Creep and regular.
There is no way. Oh. Yeah, he brings a whole ass flail into the ring. He'll telegraph how he's gonna swing it by swinging the exact same way beforehand. You'll have to deal with the same 3 patterns: duck and dodge, duck duck dodge, and duck duck dodge dodge. It actually doesn't do as much damage as you expect. Finally, when you knock him down, he'll take one last swing with his weapon, but this is actually his greatest weakness. First off, the attack, it can't knock you down, and second off, if you counter it with a star, he goes down instantly, which drops the difficulty value a lot. He's still hard, but he could be a lot harder.
Soup!
Super Macho Man. Let's get this out of the way. Attack-wise, he's the exact same as his NES incarnation. He has an uppercut, a hook, a single spin, and a clothesline. So he should be just as high as his NES incarnation, right? Nope. First off, his attacks don't do nearly as much damage, and he's also very reserved with all of his attacks except for his uppercuts, making him pretty easy. It doesn't help you can get stars off of all of his uppercuts if you know how. You can also instantly knock him down by smacking him with a star punch right after his clothesline. Overall, for a penultimate boss, he's pretty anticlimactic. His rematch fixes that though, right? Right?
You know, I'm ready for a comeback. I am. I need this. King is back. Long live the king.
Title Defense King Hippo. First off, the manhole. You'll need to deal with his overheads, delayed jabs, and squash and slam to break the 3 rows of tape and get the cover off. After that, it's basic King Hippo. Oh yeah, the delayed jabs and squash and slam. The delayed jabs are exactly what they sound like, and he opens his mouth before doing them. When doing his hippo hug, he'll now follow it up with a slam that you need to dodge. And now for the main gimmick of this fight. King Hippo won't actually always open his mouth, and if you whiff the counter, he blocks and punishes you with a sucker punch. And while you can get stars off of his fake mouth openings, it's surprisingly hard to do. This is King Hippo fully realized, and is easily the hardest and best King Hippo fight in the series. Oh boy, Soda Pop. This fight is much harder than the NES version because blocking is now useless. His 3 attacks also cover all 3 dodge areas. His hook you can only duck and dodge right, his sidestep hook you can only duck and dodge left, and his uppercuts you can only dodge. His attacks are also not telegraphed in the slightest, meaning you basically have to anticipate. Ironically, the easiest part of his fight is Rage Mode, where he does a Dreamland Express. Yes, he does have a taunt where he heals, but it's easy to knock the Soda out of his hand, at least in this fight. Soda does have a very powerful arsenal, and it's used well, but it could be absolutely devastating if used better, which we will see way later.
This is bullshit!
Look at that, right after Soda is Bald Bull. Much like Honda and Macho, he's pretty much the exact same as the NES variant. The only difference is how he only uses his hooks from one side, at least for now. His Bull Charge is also much harder, at least in my opinion. But there's something missing. Didn't he have a gimmick where he was only able to be knocked down by a Star Punch? Where's that? I'm foreshadowing something, aren't I? Title Defense Great Tiger is, in my opinion, the fighter that changes the most between Contender and Title Defense. He'll now telegraph what he's gonna do by the jewel on his turban blinking different colors. Red means he jabs, green means he uses uppercuts from the right, and blue means he uses uppercuts from the left, and white means he does an ear clap. Well, that doesn't sound that bad, it actually sounds pretty manageable. Okay then, try having to deal with a combo. He'll occasionally make you memorize multiple colors and throw the adjacent attacks. He can throw anywhere from 3 to 5, I'm pretty sure, and if he throws 5, well, I hope you haven't been watching too much TikTok lately. And on top of that, he has a super move where he goes Super Saiyan and throws himself and a clone at you to try and throw you off. You have to dodge in the direction the real Great Tiger is coming from. Oh, he also does it multiple times, anywhere from 3 to 7, I want to say. Yes, I know there's an instant knockout trick if you counter all the hits, but that is incredibly difficult to do. Much like King Hippo, this is Great Tiger fully realized. Also, unrelated, but those pants look hella comfy. Where did he get them? I want a pair of those.
Because tonight will be the night that I will fall for you over again.
Uh-oh, he's gone emo. Title Defense Don Flamenco is very similar to his Contender variant. The only new stuff he has is his infinite changing from hook, jab, to hook, jab, hook, jab. His Rose Flurry now uses hooks from both sides, and he can use up to 5. And he can now lead certain attacks into certain other attacks. That's all he has, but that's all he needs. He's still incredibly difficult. Why do you think he's kicking off the top 10?
I don't think you have any idea how fast I really am. I'm fast as fuck, boy.
Speaking of fights that barely change, all Piston Hondo has is a more complicated process to get stars off of his jabs and bow taunts, a stronger Hondo rush, delayed uppercuts, and a new side-switching uppercut, similar to his NES iteration. Now, that may make it sound like I'm harping on this fight, but rest assured, the delays on his uppercuts make him earn this spot on the list. The only reason I'm talking shit is because a lot of people would put this fight even higher, but I just don't agree.
No, I think he had one piece of advice, and then everything else he said is, don't give up, chocolate.
Judging by what we're seeing here, I would not want to know what Prime Doc Lewis looks like. The main thing he has is a new hook and Star Punch, and a Soda Popinski style taunt where he'll pull out a chocolate bar and try to eat it. That said, if you counter the taunt...
I don't know what's wrong with it. I think Fat Door is broken.
He now has a phase where he goes whole hog on you. Every attack he has does ridiculous damage, and you could just feel the impact of every single hit. That said, his attacks still aren't too difficult to dodge, and he gives you a lot of stars, but if you ever mess up, you'll take heavy punishment. Now, you may think, oh, I just won't counter the taunt. Well, that's kinda not an option. He'll always try to eat the chocolate bar at around half health. So you'll need to deal with full power Doc to win the fight, but dealing with full power Doc... oh boy.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
The final boss of Contender Mode is no joke. He has fast and slow overheads, specifically designed to make you try to anticipate the overheads and dodge early when he delays an overhead. Same thing with the hooks. Ironically, his easiest attack is the Dreamland Express, mainly because it's actually telegraphed. That doesn't make it easy, since if you miss time dodging, you're losing at least a third of your HP. That said, this boss couldn't possibly get any harder, right? Right? Stay up, Mac! Yeah, there we go. Bro, do you know how rare it is to get the last stand in Contender Mode? Holy.
Oh, now you love me. Now you love Macho Man. Well, it's too late.
Title Defense Super Macho Man doesn't have many changes from Contender Mode. All he really has is new delayed uppercuts. Oh, by the way, here you go. In those files happened in like... Yes! He released the bogus! Yeah! Woo! The main reason he's this high is because his new clothesline is hell to dodge. You need to cycle your ducks perfectly. Otherwise, instant knockdown. While not even half as hard as the other Title Defense Macho in the series, this fight is still very hard, mainly because of the clothesline.
Here we go.
In Mac's Last Stand, you fight a randomly selected fighter over and over again until losing 3 times. And one of the potential fighters you could face isn't a fighter on the regular roster, but rather one King of Kongs, Donkey Kong. DK surprisingly isn't that bad for the first bit, basically being a more unorthodox Don Flamenco. He also has delays on his overhead clubs and an attack that you have to parry if you don't want to get smacked. Actually, DK is easy if you go for a decision win.
Kill.
Title Defense Bear Hugger. Oh god. Now, attack-wise, he has no new changes, but he has a new gimmick. He only gives 2 hits of stun for every attack, and the only way to get more is to use Star Punches. You get 6 hits for 1 Star Punch, 10 hits for 2 Star Punches, and an instant knockdown for 3. And this is where the fight splits into 2 branches. Either play it too safe and go to decision, or fish for counters and get absolutely destroyed. Either way, this fight is the farthest thing from easy, and is easily the most improved fighter from Contender to Title Defense. Replace that hat with a crown. Good night! Fuck you!
I'm in danger!
Oh boy, here's what is probably going to be the biggest hot take of the video. I genuinely think Mr. Sandman title defense is the easiest of the 3 big ones. He doesn't change that much outside of his wink uppercuts. Yes, he's stronger, gives less stun, doesn't do his boo taunt nearly as frequently, and does a faster Dreamland Express, but the main export is his wink uppercuts. See, they wanted to match the energy of Tyson, so they took his wink punches and his ball-busting uppercuts and combined them into one devastating attack. You need to dodge in the adjacent direction, or counter for a star if you're a mad lad. He also does a barrage of them in his final phase, but that kinda leads into the main problem with this fight. The reason he's the easiest of the big 3 is because he's the most consistent of the 3, and the consistency is the single biggest deciding factor in an easiest to hardest ranking. If the other 2 fighters were as consistent as he would be the hardest fight, no questions asked. That said, he's the only final boss in the series who's not the hardest fighter of his respective game. That said, I can completely understand someone disagreeing with that, but you gotta understand, this top 3 was unbelievably close.
I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Title Defense Bald Bull has 3 main changes. 1, he'll now use hooks from both sides. 2, he now has a long delayed jab. And of course, 3, the same gimmick he had in the second fight in Mike Tyson's. You can only knock him down with a star punch. But that's very difficult to do considering you need to deal with some of the most difficult and varied timings in the game. Good luck even getting a star, let alone keeping it. You also can't even knock him down by countering his bull charge, because while doing that does deplete his health bar and give you a star, it still doesn't knock him down. That said, it might as well. The one thing that keeps him away from the top spot is his nose rub taunt, because if you hit it with a 1-star, that's an instant knockdown, and if you hit it with a 3-star, that's an instant knockout. That said, good luck managing to get 3 stars to this point. It is incredibly hard to even get stars, let alone keep them. That said, much like Super Macho Man before him as second place, he was never gonna win. None of these guys were. That said, the one who did... Title Defense Soda Popinski. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, this man is drugged the fuck up. The main reason he's number 1 is because his attacks are fast. Not only that, but they get faster the more you knock him down, to the point where even people with the best reaction time would never be able to react. You are forced to either memorize his patterns or keep him in rage mode the whole time. Even his taunt gets faster, with him going from saying his classic "Dame Starovie" to just dropping it and laughing at you. This guy is easily on the podium of the hardest bosses in the franchise, because while you can get a lot of stun, getting said stun is nearly impossible. What do you mean there's a fucking achievement for it? I'll tell you, this gameplay may look difficult, but it's even harder when you play it. That said, matches with Soda are rarely close, and if you can beat him, consider yourself champion, because you've beaten the hardest boss in Punch Out Wii. Get down! So that was the list. Did you agree? Did you disagree? Let me know. This is easily the best game in the franchise, and is even one of the best games, period, in my opinion. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time, when we take on the final game.